Okay, how's it going? I hope you're all doing good and staying blessed as I am. So today I want to talk about metabolic health, but from the perspective of breathing, the art of breathing, and how it impacts your metabolism. So I'm going to come from the perspective of let's put in athletes, a boxer and a sprinter, for example. Those two people, two individuals doing two different sports, but in those two different fields of sports, they require a certain level of endurance and a certain way of breathing whilst they're performing the sport. So if you're sprinting, you have to breathe that fast breathing, right? If you're boxing, whilst you're running, then if you're boxing, you hear a lot of boxers, you hear that whilst they're punching, right? So that's not to sound cool, but it's literally sinking the thought of I have to throw a punch at the same time you're breathing out, right? So what that does, it adds the potency to the punch because again, you're sinking three things: thoughts of I have to punch, the motion of throwing the punch, whilst you're breathing out at the same time. So the punch becomes more powerful compared to somebody who's not syncing all these three things together, right? So that's how it works. As a sprinter, also you have to be breathing quick, right? So that the oxygen gets what you call the oxygen gets to the muscle quicker, right? So once they get into that training of knowing how to breathe a specific way depending on any sport, but either way you still have to learn how to breathe. So the other thing that also helps is just by being able to breathing, deep breathing. So basically, inhale, hold that breath for maybe let's three, for example, 3 seconds. Then you exhale all that breath out. So you're inhaling deep breath, the breath goes into your belly, right? So you're no longer doing shallow breathing like what most of us do. Because that's just natural, right? But now, what the problem is, if you're mostly breathing in a shallow breath for most of the time, the problem now becomes now in terms of how we are always living in that what you call fight or flight, right? You are just breathing haphazardly, instead of you now switching back the opposite, where you actually have to be in rest and digest. So there's a time for everything. For example, what am I saying? There's no way you want to go and sleep and then you want to be breathing heavy like you want to run. You get where I'm coming from. You actually want to do the opposite. So the problem is now with all these environmental factors, stress from work, maybe stress from a relationship, or you're just not recovering properly from your training. All this, what it does, it impacts your nervous system. Okay, you're not stimulating because you're not stimulating the vagus nerve, right? The more you actually stimulate your vagus nerve, okay, so it runs down there, going all the way. Okay, so the more you stimulate that vagus nerve, it actually helps with switching from that fight or flight to rest and digest, where you actually calm, right? So all these things can be done. Just that switch can be done by just learning how to breathe, just by breathing, sitting down for 3 to 5 minutes. It makes a huge difference, right? You breathe, you inhale, making sure you're intentionally breathing into your belly. You hold that breath even for 3 seconds, then you have the long exhale. Breathe in, breathe out for 3 minutes. Try that for a week before you sleep, or when you just feel like you need to start reading or being in a calm state. You tell me the difference. So this plays a huge part in terms of helping you sleep, in terms of brain fog, in terms of also what you call improving your endurance, because you're mastering how to breathe. You're not shallow breathing anymore. So everything that you usually do in terms of when you're training, your body gets to an adaptation phase. So you adapt, then things become kind of like second nature. So now what happens now is the more you actually do this, or you're in tune with this type of breathing or intentionally breathing like this, you will notice you adapt to that type of breathing. You're more calm, right? So instead of like, okay, there's a stressful situation, you just breathe it out, and then you're more in that state. Some of the times, once you're actually at that point, you just naturally calm because, again, your body adapts to that. But it helps because you're really stimulating the vagus nerve. Then what that does, it helps now in aiding in things like, again, we're talking about insomnia. If you have insomnia, okay, if you're struggling in terms of brain fog when you wake up, okay, obviously there's other huge factors, but this could be a missing piece to the puzzle to aid you in those type of chronic ailments or chronic diseases that are probably what you call you're struggling with. So it's just something simple, very effective. You can look it up today on YouTube. You can even use the breathing, nervous breathing, what you call, where you follow along a 4-5-8 breathing technique. Inhale for 4, hold for 5 and 8, depending on what you want, and then you just put on the timer, then you just follow that. So it does play a huge part. Do your research on it, and then let me know. Share it to anybody who you might know might need this, or who's struggling probably with weight loss. It actually helps with that. It aids in that because, again, you're stimulating the vagus nerve. Therefore, it helps with your metabolism. Therefore, if your metabolism is working efficiently like athletes, it's easier now to burn the fat. It's easier to build muscle, right? Because after all, we are breathing human beings. So, yeah, just let me know what you think about this. Share or give to somebody this video who you might think is in need of this. So, yeah, I just thought I'd just add a little bit of value there based on um, my experience with working with different type of people across this world. So yeah, cheers. Hope you have a good one. Stay blessed. Aware.